Hello everybody, I hope you're all doing well, and it's time for a video that I've been wanting to release for quite some time now, and it's one of my most heavily requested videos, whether it be from people watching the videos here or people on social media who have been asking me where do I get all my shirts from, where do I get my rare and special ones from. And I've been collecting football shirts now for about 7.5 years, and I like to think that gives me a little bit of authority on when it comes to the methods of different places and avenues to go down when it comes to adding football shirts to your collection and expanding it. Now, all of the methods that I'm going to be showcasing here I have used personally, and I'm going to be showing examples from my time collecting, showing all of the positives and the negatives from each of the different places. That should hopefully give you a better idea of what to do yourself. So if you are just starting up in the hobby, or maybe you've been doing it longer than I have, it's always nice to have a little bit of look at something else and go, oh yes, I didn't think about that, because we're all trying to get the newest, the rarest, the best football shirts in our collection. And hopefully by the end of this, you should have a few more resources to refer to. So this is going to be a little bit of a long one because I want to make it as detailed as I possibly can, so then when someone asks me further down the line I can just point to this video and hopefully it's still relevant. So we're going to firstly start off with club stores, and it makes sense really. The best place to buy a football shirt from is the club that actually will be wearing the shirt itself. And you can break those down into two categories. You've got physical stores and online stores. So physical stores are pretty self-explanatory. Most clubs around the world that if they sell merchandise will have a club store somewhere physically that you can go and buy the shirts from. Now, depending on the size of the club themselves, it may just be on match days, or it may be at the stadium for a few hours a week. And then I suppose as the clubs get bigger, they may have a dedicated store that's open throughout the week. And when you get to the big teams, they may have multiple stores. So you might have one at the stadium, one in the city centre, one in a small part of a town nearby. It really depends on what club you're buying from. Now, the difficulties, of course, is these stores are literally physical, so they are in one place. And if I sit in the UK right now and I'm looking to buy a Barcelona shirt, for instance, and I want to go to the physical store, I have to travel there, and it doesn't really make sense for me to do so. But if you are just starting collecting and you sit in a city maybe that you weren't born in, or you haven't got any shirts, the best place is probably to nip down to the club store, because firstly you get to see the shirt in person. A lot of shirts that get posted online, the images have been doctored or sort of set up such a way that the shirt looks the best it possibly can, and then when you see it in person yourself you go, hang on a minute, that's not black, that's blue. So it's an opportunity to see if you actually really do like a shirt, and also you can see if it fits. Different manufacturers, different countries will fit differently. So if you say, oh, I buy Adidas shirt, I buy medium, and it fits quite nicely, if you then go and buy a medium in, say, for instance, Kappa, that's probably going to be a bit tighter fitting. And when you arrive, you may then think, oh, I'm going to have to either return this or just suck up the costs. So if you're able to try it on, you can definitely see if it fits or not. Of course, that's if you decide to wear your shirts. And another benefit of the physical store is if you are traveling on holiday or just doing some tourism, wherever it may be in your local country, it's a great way to pick up a memento, isn't it? If you are visiting a town or a city and you see a club store, if you buy the football shirt, it's tied with that memory as well. So it's usually a good idea if that's what you are doing. Of course, if you have the extra money to spend on the football shirt. But some clubs also have online stores, and these are going to be probably one of your best allies when it comes to buying football shirts. So these are the places that I buy from semi-regularly, and it gives you an opportunity to get shirts that are not going to be available anywhere else. Now, online stores really depend on the country that you're buying from and the size of the club. So if you live in England like I do, all of the teams in like the top 5-6 pyramid levels of the pyramid probably have some form of an online store. So if I wanted to buy something from League 2 team, I can just go on their online store and add it to my cart. But if I start looking to buy football shirts, let's say for instance from Slovakia, only the premium and the biggest clubs will probably have an online store, whereas when you get further down the league, they start becoming maybe semi-professional clubs. They won't have an online store, some don't even have a website, so those are already ruled out. But if you can get into some of the bigger clubs that are big in their country but are still small sort of on the grand scheme of things, that's where you can usually pick up some pretty good deals, because they have usually end of the season pretty hefty discounts, and that's usually when I'm buying the shirts. Now, I have a website where I try to update it with all of the appropriate online stores, and I also have a spreadsheet which has every online store of pretty much most clubs in Europe. So if you end up typing like buy X club football shirt in Google, my website should hopefully come up first, and if you go on there, you click on the website, it will take you to the club store, so you don't necessarily have to find it, because sometimes it can be difficult to figure out what is the actual official club store, and if they're using a language that's not sort of English based, so if you go to like a Russian one or a Japanese one or a Chinese one, if you start typing in English words, it's going to be sometimes difficult for those to appear. So that's a little bit of a trick that I hope you guys take advantage of. With regards to buying online stores, there are some drawbacks. Of course, most of the time if you're buying from countries where their primary language isn't English, and it's probably, or it might not be your primary language, you're going to have to take advantage of like a Google Chrome translation feature, because otherwise you're going to have no idea what's going on when you go on the website. If you are buying from certain countries, they have different methods of payment. So a lot of places have PayPal, which is fine because PayPal is quite universally used, easy to use. You make the transfer, that's it, you bought it. Some will need like wire transfers, so it's like they will require you to buy the shirt first by technically not spending any money. Then they'll send you an email with like a purchase order number and then some information about the bank details, and then you'll have to transfer it across there, use the reference codes, and then they'll hopefully send you the football shirt. So it's just about getting yourself comfortable with different methods of buying shirts. And of course, buying from different countries, shipping can be quite pricey depending on where you're buying it from. Some places, I remember I tried to buy a Romanian shirt once and it was pretty decently priced, about £30. Went to go to the shipping and it calculated at about £40. I was like, I'm not paying £40 for a £30 shirt. So it really comes down to, you might find that amazing shirt, but when you get to the end of it, the shipping is what kills it. And if you decide to then go for the shipping's decent. If you're importing it into your country, there's always the chance that you will have to pay customs fees and taxes. Those will not be mentioned anywhere on the website. That's your responsibility. So bear in mind, if you spend £50, £60 on a football shirt, you may have to allocate another £20 to £40 on having that shirt released into your own hands, or else it will get sent back and that'll be it. So that's something to be careful of. Now, with regards to the shirts, the club stores that I bought from 26 different places, and because I only buy football shirts from different clubs, I don't have any duplicates. I have bought 11 from Scotland and 1 from Republic of Ireland. As someone who lives in England, buying from those countries is not difficult at all, so that's not really that impressive. So I'll speak about the countries that I have bought from. So I bought from Bosnia. That one was quite simple. I just added it to cart, and then it arrived 2 weeks later. Croatia, I bought from twice. One of them was the one where I had to pay after I bought the shirt. Another one is where I bought it. I received absolutely no emails saying that it had been shipped, and then it just turned up. So sometimes you just have to wait and pray that it's going to arrive. Cyprus was nice and easy. Germany, as you can imagine, was easy. Israel was probably the sort of difficult. It was one where I wasn't certain if it was going to have tags attached, so I had to get someone living in Israel to speak to the club. They confirmed it was. Made the purchase, which was easy enough, but that's the only time I've ever had to pay a customs fee to have it released into my own hands. I had to pay something like £35, I believe. So at the end of the day, that sort of purchase was close to £100. So just be aware, it arrived, but it was a nice shirt. I've also bought from Italy, which was recently when I bought from Venezia. That was quite easy, but because of the high demand of the shirt, we had to wait a long time for it to be sent and dispatched. But other than that, that was a nice, easy process. North Macedonia, I can't remember quite specifically what happened there. All I remember is that the website didn't actually specify what year the shirt is from, so it just says FK Vardar shirt. So I still really don't know what seasons that shirt was worn. Portugal I've bought from probably about 3 times, maybe the easiest place to buy from, really quick and easy. Shipping is very reasonable, never had to pay any customs fees. Spain, I bought one shirt from there once because I really wanted to get the Zamora circulatory system one. Have it arrived, it was really cool, but then Classic Football Shirts posted some like 2 months later at a cheaper price, so sometimes if you buy it too quickly, you get burned because they appear somewhere else. I bought from Tunisia recently also. Did buy it from a club, but technically I think that it was shipped from the Kappa warehouse store in France, so it didn't really come from Tunisia, but it's still part of the process, I guess. And then finally, Turkey. I bought a Trabzonspor shirt quite a few years ago. That one was nice and easy to do. Though I remember when I looked at the shipping charges, if you lived in Sweden, they wanted to charge them, I promise you, something like £200. So I don't know what Sweden have done to annoy Turkey, but that was probably going to discourage you from buying that. So those are the club stores. Those are the places that I would probably look to first for possibly the best deals, but there are always potential drawbacks. Secondly, you've got the manufacturers. So it's very similar to the clubs. Instead of buying it from the club, you're buying it from the place that make the shirts. It makes sense. And it's obviously a perfect way to get and guarantee genuine goods. So you're not going to be buying any fakes. If you're trying to avoid that like me, buying it from the manufacturer is the best place. They also are pretty good at sales. So decent sales. So usually beginning of the season, don't buy any football shirts because it's going to be the highest price. And then as the season progresses, you'll hit different holidays. So like Black Friday is usually good, Christmas, New Year's, and of course end of season. So what I usually try to do is at the beginning of the season, I like to look on the websites to see what's available, see what shirts they have released, see what clubs are mentioned. And then as we hit the holidays, that's when you can keep looking, because most of the time they won't be stocking new shirts because they just have X amount of clubs for the season, and that's going to be it. Though check every now and then, because of course certain seasons around the world start at different times, so they don't all start, August, September. And then usually at the end of the season is when they start doing the big discounts. That's usually when you might pick up one or two. It's also a great opportunity to find rare shirts. So say for instance, I recently got the USM Alger shirt, which is an Algerian club. They don't have an online club store themselves, but Kappa, for whatever reason, decided that they were going to stock the Algerian club shirts and sell it on their website. There would be no other way that I'd be able to get those, and I waited for Black Friday, took advantage of a sale, and then added it to my collection. So sometimes it does pay to pay attention to the manufacturers as well. I've only bought from 3 different manufacturers myself. I bought from Diane, who were/are a manufacturer that mainly focused on like motocross, motorcycle sports, but they jumped into football wear, and they were the ones that created those crazy designs that everyone sort of either hated or loved. And I stumbled across their web store. I messaged them asking them if they attached the tags. They did, sent some photographs, and made a couple of purchases. They sort of went burst, and then Classic Football Shirts bought all their dead stock, and then you could buy them directly from Classic Football Shirts, but the prices actually were pretty similar, so I didn't feel like I missed out there. I bought from the Adidas store. If you don't have the Adidas app and have an account, it's kind of silly that you don't, because it's free to have it, and then when you just have it on your phone, you'll get notifications every now and then saying 25% off here, 10% off here, early members access here. And if it's free, you might have an opportunity to save 25% off on a shirt that's already on discount, which is what I did when I bought my University de Chile shirts. That was already discounted, and then I had another 25% off plus free shipping because I'm a member. It was a no-brainer at the end of the day. And then I've also bought from Macron twice. I bought from Macron in Iceland, their official website. I wanted to buy an Icelandic shirt, but as it is Iceland, prices are very high, so I wanted to know, do you firstly ship to the UK? They responded and said that they would, and then I decided to add my shirt to the cart. It arrived, it was expensive, I opened it up, there were no tags attached, and I was like, Macron, what are you doing? You usually attach the tags. And then they were like, let me get back to you. After about 2 or 3 weeks, they showed me a photograph. They'd created me a tag with everything, the names, the barcodes, all official, shipped that across to me, and I was able to attach it to my shirt. So I have literally a one-of-a-kind shirt there that no one else has. So sometimes when you speak to manufacturers, they will go above and beyond with their customer service. Second Macron place was when I bought from Albania. Similar sort of story. I wanted an Albanian shirt. The website was a little bit less advanced. It just said like the team name blue, team name white. I wasn't quite sure what was going to be home or away. I did ask them, but they didn't respond. I thought, well, I suppose it's not the most important thing, so I'll try and buy it. And then when it came to shipping, there were 2 options. One was like £1 to ship, and the other one was about £15. I thought, well, £15 sounds about right to ship from Albania to the UK, but the £1 one is available, so I'm just going to try that, and if it doesn't work, I'll just pay the rest. tried the £1 one and the shirt just arrived. So literally cost me £1 to ship from Albania to the UK. So it kind of makes you think they either made a mistake or we're all getting ripped off when it comes to shipping. So that's something to keep in mind. So usually it's a great place to get rare shirts that you necessarily wouldn't be able to find elsewhere. Of course, not all places ship to all different countries. So I've seen some manufacturers that are based, in Spain or in South America, but they just don't ship to the UK. So it's just not an option. Next, we have retailers. So again, very similar to the club stores and manufacturers, but this is another place to get legitimate goods. Of course, if you're buying from genuine retailers, there are many places online that sell football shirts, and quite a lot of those just quite blatantly are selling fake. So it comes down to being a bit savvy on a computer and trying to figure out, does that look fine? Does that look legit? Probably not. Stay away from it. A lot of the main players have a good reputation now, and if you ask somebody a question, they'll probably advise you anyway. Depending on where you're buying from, it's a great place to buy clearance items. So what a clearance item is, we've mentioned the manufacturers before, so let's take for instance Hummel. At the end of the season, of course, they're getting ready for the new season, new shirts. What they're going to do is, firstly, they'll have their own sale, and then once they've got that out the way, someone like Classic Football Shirts may contact them, or they'll contact Classic Football Shirts and say, hey, we've got X amount of stock, would you like to buy these at a discounted rate, buy all of them? And then Classic Football Shirts will say, yes, we'll buy them, say £5, £7 an item, and then hopefully when they post them, they'll post them at about £25, £20, which if you would have bought it directly from the manufacturer, it might have cost you $35 to $40. So sometimes if you see something on a manufacturer website and you think, I might want to get that, sometimes it can pay to wait to have it on clearance, but it's not a guarantee, so you've got to always take that balance and decide, what do I want to do. And buying from some retailers is a great opportunity to find, again, cool and unique designs. So retailers that are from countries that you don't live in, opportunity to get shirts that are not available anywhere else. And depending on how big the retailer is, they might be getting shirts from all over the world. So it's just something to keep your eye on. And also, depending on when you're buying from, you can buy sort of used classic and vintage shirts. So for instance, classic and vintage football shirts, they sell all the older shirts that are quite popular and obviously have the nostalgia attached to them. Now, I don't collect those, so I don't really have to worry about focusing on them, and I understand that some people think that these websites, they sort of put the prices up quite high, but my thinking is, this is the only way to guarantee that these shirts are genuine. If you're buying them from second-hand sellers or on marketplaces, you can't guarantee that that shirt you've spent £250 on actually is genuine. So that's something to think about if that's what you wish or are going to be collecting. With regards to all the places that I've bought from, there's quite a few here. I'll try to be quick as I possibly can, but I want to give you the best sort of review I possibly can from the places. So we have, in alphabetical order, we've got Circa 88. They're a place that sell primarily at the moment Mexican football shirts. I saw them on the Retro Football Fair. They have a good selection and the prices are really good, so I'd advise them. Classic Football Shirts, possibly the biggest and most well-known place in the world. Living literally 30 minutes away from where their headquarters are is quite useful, because it usually means I can get the shirts quite quickly and the shipping is not very expensive. If you live across the world, yes, it's going to cost you a little bit more to get some in, so you might have to do like a big bulk order instead of just buying one at a time. Next, you have Football Fan UK. Is a smaller indie sort of company that have only a small selection of football shirts, but sometimes can be quite cool. Though I have noticed that if, for instance, Classic Football Shirts get something on clearance, a couple of weeks later, Football Fan UK will have the same shirt in a smaller amount for a greater price. So it's usually, if you see something on Football Fan UK, look elsewhere, because it probably is for sale somewhere else at a cheaper price. Next, we have Football Shirts 101. I wasn't sure if I should put this on here or another method, because he has a website, so let's just leave it here. It's just a gentleman who's part-time, just sells football shirts, sort of gets job lots, I think, and just sells them. It's usually the older used stuff, so it's not really interesting for me, but when I went to the Retro Football Fair, he had a Mexican shirt that I've been looking for, and I picked it up, so yeah, very good. Great customer service and just a great guy. Then you got Global Football Shirts. I bought from this place when I was just starting out, and I thought I'd found like a hidden gem place when I bought a Cluj home shirt. Turns out that's the only time they've really had sort of brand new with tag shirts. They've got a few, but nothing that takes my fancy. They're another place that sells sort of used classic football shirt styling ones. They don't have a great selection. I haven't been on the website for quite a number of years now. You have Global Soccer Star, a similar name, but this time they are based in Estonia. And surprise, surprise, it's a place that I was going to be buying Estonian football shirts from. When I bought from them a couple of years ago, they were sort of just starting out and they had quite a decent selection of Estonian teams and the prices were really low. Since then, the selection has shrunk a little bit and the prices have increased a little bit, but it's still a good option if you are looking to find an Estonian football shirt. Next, we have JD Sports, one of the bigger retailers in the UK and probably across other countries as well. Don't just focus on football shirts, they do all sorts of sportswear. When I was buying from them, it was when they were partnered with a couple of Scottish football teams, so I bought Inverness and I bought St Mirren. Since then, I've not really bought anything else because I don't really need the big teams anymore, but it's another option. They might have some sales at the end of the season. Then we have Kitbag. Kitbag is possibly the best dedicated football shirt retailer for new football shirts. So if you're looking to buy any of the bigger teams and sometimes like MLS or rest of the world sort of teams, they'll have them available. I bought from there quite a few times with regards to my Chelsea shirts. As a Chelsea fan, that's where I buy them from most of the times. Great to get the players' names on the backs. Sales, they have pretty decent sales across the year. The website is a bit more difficult to negotiate, trying to find sort of the more obscure of the clubs, but they are there. You just got to find them. Next, you have Club Tricot. Club Tricot is a website for a retailer based in Switzerland, so you can imagine what I was buying from there. A Paraguayan football shirt. Don't ask me why it was on there, but I was like, I need one of those. I will buy it. But because it's based in Switzerland, the price is very high. So when you take into account the shipping on top of that, I think I probably spent close to £70 for a football shirt. But when it arrived, it was exactly as it was advertised. They do have quite a decent selection of Swiss football teams, but I remember looking at the Lugano third shirt this season that I wanted to buy, and then once I'd sort of customized it to what I needed it to be, before shipping they wanted me to spend about £135. That's not going to happen. So bear in mind the prices are Swiss high. Next we have Commander. Commander is an interesting one because it's a website based in Latvia, and it was, of course, I was trying to buy a Latvian football club. I was looking for FC Skonto, who at that point were the best team in Latvia. They have since gone bust. I found the shirt, added it to my cart, bought it. Then they sent me a message saying, "Oh, we don't actually have that shirt." So I goes, "Oh, okay then." So just like, send me my money back then. They goes, "Oh, well, what about next? We can try and get next season's shirt." I was like, "What does that look like? Like, what we're talking about?" Back and forth again. I think it took a few more months, and they said, "Oh, we found you this shirt." I'm like, "Great." So they sent me the shirt, and it arrived with the different crest on it. It had like the under 10s, or it's like a youth team crest on. I was like, I don't really know what this is, to be honest. I spoke to the club, asked them, what is this? Is a fake shirt? They goes, "Oh no, it's not a fake shirt. It's just got a different crest on." Well, what is it then? Can't really ask anybody now because the club doesn't exist. So they think they have maybe one or two Latvian clubs available to buy right now, but I don't know if I'd advise you to use it, but I have done previously. La Campionessa is next. It's a great place to buy Italian football shirts. I remember I stumbled across them first when they had an eBay store, and I bought like a Maribor shirt from them, Slovenian team. So they do sometimes get shirts from sort of across the world, but they are based in Italy, so they do focus on Italian clubs, and Italian clubs are quite popular for collectors. And they have not just the big teams, but they have like teams going down to like the fourth division, so that's quite cool. Some interesting brands going on there, so I would maybe advise buying from them, but the shipping does cost a little bit, so maybe buy 2 or 3 at once. Next we have Lavelle Soccer in the UK. They are another similar to JD Sports, I guess, but not quite as big. They just do all sorts of different sports where they used to have a decent selection of like alternative football shirts. I bought some Mexican clubs there, but they sort of shrunk that a little bit. I don't really find myself buying from them or even looking at the website anymore. M&M Direct is a great place to buy cheap and discounted genuine football shirts. You look at them and sometimes you see the prices and you go, this can't be genuine or true, but it is. I've bought a River Plate shirt from there, Chapecoense shirt from there, and Gremio shirt from there, so it seems to be South American orientated, and the shirts were like, I think the River Plate shirt was like £9 or something that crazy. Problem is, if you end up seeing these, there's a good chance if you are also buying mystery boxes that you're probably going to see a lot of these shirts appear also, because they can just buy them for £10, sell the mystery box for £35, and hey, look at that, you've got a River Plate shirt. great. So it doesn't get stocked too often, but maybe check once a month just to see what's floating around. Maybe you'll find something that takes your interest. If so, buy it because it's a good price. Next, we have Pro Direct Soccer, similar to Lovell, I guess, maybe a little bit bigger. They do a lot of stuff with the actual athletes. With regards to football shirts, there isn't a great selection, to be honest. They have the major clubs. Occasionally, they get sort of special edition ones in, so like AIK football from Sweden. The special edition shirts get released. They have a few of those, but you just got to be aware of when these get dropped because, of course, they sell out very quickly. I've picked up like Red Star shirt from there, the one with the Vice sponsor. So occasionally they get some cool shirts, but most of the time it's just the big boys. Next, you have Soccerbox. Soccerbox is another retailer, sort of independent one in the UK. They focus mainly on the big teams once again, though when I recently checked their website, they seem to have some cool shirts from like Central America and South America. The only thing that I would say is the prices are generally quite high and the sales aren't too frequent, so maybe check it out, but I would maybe advise to look elsewhere and see if you can find something a bit cheaper. Sports Direct is the biggest sports retailer in the UK and probably in some other countries as well. Anything that they can put their brand on, they will sell. They do sell football shirts, of course, and it's a place where I get quite a few of my Chelsea shirts when I'm going to the physical stores. The best thing about the physical stores, of course, again, is you can actually go in, see the shirts, what they look like, try them on, see what fits best. Back when I used to collect football shirts, even before I was a collector, these have a good selection of rest of the world stuff that sort of disappeared, but it's starting to come back now. And if you go on the website, you can usually sometimes pick up a discounted shirt if you know where to look. Next, you have Sports Bar. Sports Bar is just like the German M&M Direct. It's like if you go on there, they'll have the discounted shirts once again. But of course, if you're buying from Germany, there's going to be some shipping. So sometimes if you end up finding what you think is a cheap football shirt, when you tie in the fact that there's some shipping, it might end up being the same price as if you were buying it from the UK. So sometimes it's not always super cheap when you take into account the shipping as well. But maybe just check that place once a month. Next, we have Subside Sports. Subside Sports are great for buying football shirts from countries that are a little bit off the off-beaten path. So I bought Bolivian shirt from there. I bought shirts from Peru. And then they have shirts from like Japan and South Korea. The only thing I would say about Subside Sports is the prices are generally quite high and they don't drop too frequently. They do have some pretty decent sales, like 10% off here, 20% off there, but that usually means the price then drops down to what everyone else is selling it. So unless it's a shirt that you don't see anywhere else, I'd maybe just buy it from another retailer at probably a cheaper price. Then you have Unisport, which is probably the same as Subside Sports, but just a Scandinavian version. Many years ago, it used to be really good at buying Scandinavian shirts. You get Danish shirts, Norwegian shirts, Swedish shirts, even Finnish shirts, which I wish I did because I don't actually have any of those. And they used to be really well priced. Certainly towards the end of the season, they'd be heavily discounted. But now they have a smaller selection of sort of Scandinavian teams, and they're just tailoring to the big teams, and the prices don't drop as much. And then when you throw into the fray the shipping, sometimes, most of the time, it's not worth it for me. So I only check there maybe once every couple of weeks. And then finally, you have vintage football shirts, sort of the smaller brother to classic football shirts. They do the same sort of thing. They have the clearance stuff. They have the old football shirts. They have just anything like training wear. I check on there every day as well. And, I buy from them, a handful of times a year when they get some pretty cool shirts. There is usually a bit of overlap, though, with classic football shirts. So those are the online retailers. There's still plenty more across the world that I'm aware of that I just not bought from because either they can't ship to the UK or the shipping is too much or the prices don't drop enough. But that's just I'm sure there's going to be some more places that I will buy from, probably even this year. Then you have online marketplaces, so places like eBay, Depop, Vinted, similar sort of apps. Probably the best place to buy cheap football shirts. It's a great place to buy a deal, especially if it's like an auction format on eBay. You just find the most recent ones that are ending, and you go, oh, I'm interested in buying that one, and you can probably pick it up, especially if they start at the auction at such a low price. Of course, the main issue is going to be the authenticity of the shirts. Very difficult to guarantee what you're buying is genuine, and if that's something you're trying to avoid, my advice is just avoid buying from eBay, but that's just for me. I'm just paranoid. It really comes down to, if it looks too good to be true, it probably is. If you see someone who's posted every brand new big team, Man United, Chelsea, Real Madrid, Juventus, whoever it is, and they have all the sizes and it's all cheap price, probably is going to be a bunch of fakes. If they've posted images where they have the manufacturer or the crest or something blurred out, again, probably fake. The best thing to do is you see something you like, message the seller, Ask them for the codes on the tags. Ask them where they got the shirt from. If they don't get a response, maybe that's a sign. If they send you something that looks a bit weird, maybe it's a sign. So just try and think and use your head a little bit. But there are genuine shirts on there, obviously. I sell some football shirts on eBay occasionally, and they're all genuine. So there are some good bargains to be had. Just be very, very careful. I wouldn't necessarily use it as my mainstay for buying football shirts, but that's just my own personal point of view. Next, I'm going to throw in mystery boxes just because it's slightly different to any other method. I would absolutely never advise you to be just using these solely to get a collection, because it's going to be, well, that's going to be an interesting collection if you did. Buying mystery boxes is fun and exciting, I guess, from the part that you don't know what you're going to get, because you think, ooh, I might get something that I've never seen before, and that absolutely is the case. And then depending on where you're buying it from, sometimes they're like, oh, we've got this Grail shirt, we've got the brand new Venezia home shirt, and these is going to get sent out today to one lucky purchase. And it's like, is it really, or is that Venezia shirt never going to leave the warehouse? So it comes down to, what are you looking to get out of this? If you're just mainly going to try and get the shirt, I'd probably just advise you to get the shirt separately, because you'll probably get it cheaper anyway. But if you want to have a bit of fun, then I suppose that's fine. And if you do something like I do, you do the YouTube stuff, then I suppose it makes more sense to buy a mystery box, because it is content and it can be quite exciting, especially if it goes wrong, because then it's fun for you guys to see me upset and crying. But yeah, mystery boxes are slightly different, but I wouldn't advise you to focus on them too much. And then finally we have other fellow collectors. It makes sense, really. This is, football shirt collectors know what football shirt collectors like. And of course, social media is the best and most obvious place to find these people. Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, YouTube, whatever platform it is you use, there's probably going to be somebody on there speaking and showcasing about the football shirts that they have. And it's really just like anything. It's about firstly developing your own reputation of somebody that is reputable and trustworthy. So if you have just a blank account and you don't necessarily show either you or your shirts, and you then start hassling or asking people, can you get me this shirt? Can I buy that shirt? We're going to be a bit reluctant to be like, I'm not sure if I want to do that, because I just think, are you going to take my money? Are you going to take my shirts? So it's all about building up your own reputation a little bit. And if you're just new to the game, obviously explain that, and then just try and form relationships with people. So by that, I don't mean just going, hey, can I buy this, or will you do this? It's just compliment people on their shirts and be nice to them and say, oh my god, I can't believe you've got that shirt, where did you buy that from? Or I love your collection of Liverpool football shirts, or whatever it is. And it's not necessarily buttering people up, it's just try and be friendly. It's just works. Like, trust me, it really works. And even don't approach it as if you want to get something from them. Just speak to people like you would want to be spoken to yourself, and then naturally as the relationship builds, they might be like, oh, yeah, I'm going to such and such next month on holiday. You want me to pick you up one of the shirts, and I'll send it to you, and then you can be like, yeah, of course, man. Or if they live in a different country, and you go, oh, by the way, do you live near such and such, or do you know anybody that can get me that? And they can go, yeah. And what I would advise is, if you are going to be getting someone to get you a shirt, ask them if they want to get involved in exchange. If you say, if I'm buying something, say for instance from somebody in Brazil, I go, oh, by the way, mate, do you want anything from the UK or maybe Europe that I can get that you might find a little bit difficult? They don't have to say yes. They can just be like, no, I'll get you the shirt and just give me the money. Or they might be like, yeah, I've been looking to get the shirt from Stockport or Shrewsbury or something like that. Can you get me that? And if you get involved, it makes them a little bit more at ease as well, because you've invested something. And then when you do the exchange, everyone's happy then, because you get something that you would have been very difficult to get, and they get something similar. So that's just what I would advise. It's just, yeah. Some of the best shirts that I've had in my collection and been able to buy and add have come from the help of people across the world. But that's it. I think I've covered everything. It's a long video. I have no idea how long this has been going on for, and I hope everything I've said makes sense. If you've got any further questions or want to have any additional bits of advice, just ask them in the comments below and I'll answer them, or you can message me on social media or wherever it is. If you notice anything wrong, let me know as well. And if there's any retailers or clubs or manufacturers or anything that I haven't mentioned that you think might be good for me to know about so I can buy from, or anybody else watching this video, mention them below as well, and we'll try and expand this bits of advice just from the video and then also into the comments. So yes, that's everything. As always, thank you guys for watching. I hope you have a great week ahead, and I will see you in the next video. Goodbye.